is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, we begin with the U.S. economy showing signs of stalling. Fed Chair Jay Powell reports zero net job creation in the private sector while holding interest rates steady. He warns the war in Iran has already pushed gas prices up by $1 a gallon, threatening to wipe out gains against inflation. The World Health Organization is on alert for possible fallout after strikes hit Iranian atomic sites. Officials are tracking radiation levels, warning any leak could trigger a public health crisis beyond Iran's borders. Meanwhile, U.S. intelligence chiefs face heavy fire in Congress. Director Tulsi Gabbard says Iran's military capabilities are obliterated, but the regime still stands. Lawmakers now question the war, calling it a war of choice without clear nuclear proof. In East Asia, Kim Jong-un secures total control once again. North Korea's ruling party claims every seat in parliament after an uncontested vote. The result reinforces Pyongyang's tight grip as the world watches its next move. 12 Filipino seafarers are safe after an attack in the Persian Gulf. Their oil tanker was hit off Iraq. No injuries reported, but the incident underscores rising risks for OFWs in conflict zones. Turning to politics, the fight over Vice President Sara Duterte intensifies in the House. Her lawyers dismiss the impeachment complaints as pure speculations. The defense insists that there is no hard evidence to justify removal. And finally, the Philippine women's team scores a breakthrough win in FIBA World Cup qualifiers. The victory keeps their World Cup bid alive as they take on the world's best. I am Paul Montemon. Newsline World starts now. Vice President J.D. Vance has backed the resignation of counterterrorism Chief Joe Kent, stating it is a good thing for officials to leave if they cannot support the president's war on Iran. Jane Cadita has the news.
U.S. counterterrorism chief Kent's resignation, the first by a Trump administration official over the Iran war, landed like a shockwave in Washington. He announced his departure on X, saying his conscience would not allow him to remain. Kent accused senior Israeli officials and sympathetic media figures of running a disinformation campaign, building what he called an echo chamber to manufacture the case for war, and drawing a direct parallel to the lead-up to Iraq. The departure was particularly striking, given Kent's own credentials as a combat veteran and Gold Star husband, and his standing as a prominent MAGA ally. Critics on both sides of the aisle seized on his letter, with Democrats pointing to it as validation of their argument that the war lacks legal and strategic justification. It was against that backdrop that Vice President Vance took the stage in Auburn Hills, Michigan on Wednesday, working to contain the fallout and project a united front. Vance emphasized that once Trump makes a decision, it is the duty of the administration to execute it without hesitation. Vance framed the ongoing offensive as a surgical necessity to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran, while explicitly promising that the U.S. would not be drawn into another long-term quagmire.
When the President of the United States makes a decision, it's your job to help make that decision as effective and successful as possible. And so the President said this yesterday: if you are on the team and you can't help implement the decisions of his administration, he has the right to make those decisions, then it's a good thing for you to resign. And I think that's exactly right. That's all this is about. We don't want the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon.
The vice president also addressed the economic anxiety gripping American households as gas prices climb toward $4 a gallon. Vance dismissed the surge as a temporary blip caused by the Middle East conflict, arguing that the administration's energy dominance agenda has protected the U.S. from far worse price spikes seen in Europe and Asia. He teased a major announcement regarding energy prices expected within the next 48 hours, while taking a sharp swipe at Canada. Vance criticized the Northern ally for taking advantage of U.S. security subsidies, urging Ottawa toward greater military self-sufficiency.
Gas prices are up. And we know they're up, and we know that people are hurting because of it, and we're doing everything that we can to ensure that they stay lower. I will say, the president said this, and I certainly agree with it. This is a temporary blip. It's not going to last forever. We're going to take care of business. We're going to come back home. And when that happens, you're going to see energy prices come back down to reality.
Despite the vice president's optimistic tone, the political coalition that brought the administration to power appears increasingly strained, with key figures like Kent exiting over the war of choice in Iran. The White House is working overtime to convince its base that this excursion will be short-lived and its domestic costs manageable. This has been Jane Coniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
The U.S. intelligence community has released a stunning assessment indicating that while Iran's military power projection has been obliterated, the Tehran's regime remains structurally intact. During a heated Senate hearing on Wednesday, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard faced blistering criticism from lawmakers who accused the administration of launching a war of choice without an imminent nuclear threat. Carlo De La Peña has the details.
In a high-stakes worldwide threats hearing on Capitol Hill, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard provided the most detailed look yet at the impact of Operation Epic Fury. According to the IC, 16 days of precision strikes have successfully destroyed Iran's conventional military capabilities, leaving the regime with limited options. However, Gabbard admitted that despite the death of Ali Khamenei and the destruction of the IRGC's industrial base, the Iranian government itself appears to be holding together, albeit under extreme internal pressure.
The IC assesses the regime in Iran appears to be intact but largely degraded due to attacks on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded.
The hearing turned explosive as senators challenged the court justification for the February 28 strikes. Senator John Ossoff pointed to the IC's own data, admitted by Gabbard, that Iran's nuclear enrichment program had already been obliterated last summer and that no effort had been made to rebuild it before the current war began. Gabbard repeatedly refused to say whether the IC had ever classified Iran as an imminent nuclear threat, sparking a sharp rebuke from Ossoff, who accused her of evading the truth and protect the White House's political narrative.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that, as the White House claimed on March 1st, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
Once again, Senator, the intelligence community has provided the inputs that make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume
You're here
of
to be
information
timely,
and intelligence that he is provided with.
You're here to be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
Exactly what I'm doing.
No, you're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from the White House.
Beyond Iran, the hearing painted a grim picture of global stability. Senator Mark Warner noted that two of America's closest allies, the UK and Canada, are now seeking trade deals with China because they no longer view the US as a dependable partner in light of President Trump's unilateral actions. With Iran reportedly under martial law and a puppet leader selected by the IRGC, the intelligence community warns that the regime is already planning a years-long effort to rebuild its missile and drone forces the moment the strikes stop. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña, SM9 News.
Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei is hinting at retaliation as Tehran holds a massive state funeral for security chief Ali Larijani, the Basij commander, and more than 100 sailors lost when the U.S. Navy sank an Iranian warship. Joy Tabanao has more.
Crowds filled Engelab Square in central Tehran on Wednesday before a procession moved south toward a martyr's burial site. Morning Security Chief Ali Larijani, Basij Commander Ghulam Reza Soleimani, and the 104 crew members of the frigate Dena torpedoed and sunk by the U.S. Navy submarine U.S. Charlotte in the Indian Ocean on March 4th. Another 32 sailors survived with injuries. New Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei issued a condolence message, one that carried an unmistakable undertone of vengeance. Among those in attendance were Iranian state officials, military commanders, and family members of the deceased, including relatives of the late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, killed on the first day of the offensive on February 28th. Mourners waved Iranian flags and raised photographs of fallen leaders, pledging allegiance to the new supreme leader and chanting vows of vengeance against the United States and Israel. Those paying their respects described Larijani as one of the Islamic Republic's most consequential figures, also killed in the Israeli strike that took Larijani's life, where his son Morteza, Deputy Security Secretary Alireza Bayat, and several of his bodyguards, with its supreme leader, security chief, and Basij commander all eliminated within weeks of the offensive's launch. Iran is burying its dead and signaling it is not done fighting. This has been Joy Tabanao, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Iranian Foreign Minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi says Tehran's commitment to peaceful nuclear energy remains firm and is setting conditions for any future agreement on the Strait of Hormuz. Speaking on Wednesday, Araghchi reaffirmed that Iran has consistently pursued nuclear energy for peaceful purposes and said that despite the leadership transition following the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, the country's broader nuclear policy is unlikely to shift under new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei. On the Strait of Hormuz, Araghchi signaled that reopening the waterway would not come without conditions. He said coastal nations should negotiate new transit agreements after the war, but only if Iranian and regional interests are guaranteed. The foreign minister also pushed back against criticism from neighboring Gulf states over Iran's strikes on nearby U.S. military bases, blaming Washington. The remarks come after the U.S. and Israel launched joint strikes on Tehran and several other Iranian cities on February 28, killing Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, senior military commanders, and civilians. Iran has since responded with repeated waves of missile and drone strikes targeting Israeli territory and U.S. bases across the Middle East. Up next, the World Health Organization is on alert for possible fallout after strikes hit Iranian atomic sites. Officials are tracking radiation levels, warning any leak could trigger a public health crisis beyond Iran's borders. In East Asia, Kim Jong-un secures total control once again. North Korea's ruling party claims every seat in parliament after an uncontested vote. The result reinforces Pyongyang's tight grip as the world watches its next move. More news when Newsline World returns.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang sa murang halaga. pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell has delivered a stark assessment of the U.S. economy, admitting to zero net job creation in the private sector as the central bank voted to hold interest rates steady. In a briefing marked by unprecedented uncertainty, Powell warned that the ongoing U.S.-Israeli war on Iran is already driving gas prices up by $1 a gallon, threatening to derail progress on inflation, this report.
Inside the Federal Reserve, the tone was one of the cautious observation. Chairman Jay Powell on Wednesday announced that the committee would maintain interest rates between 3.5% and 3.75%, while the Fed had previously seen progress in normalizing its policy stance. The shadow of the Middle East conflict has now cast a dark cloud over the American economic horizon. Powell expressed deep concern over a zero employment growth equilibrium, noting that the private sector is currently seeing no net job gains, a phenomenon he linked to deliberate shifts in immigration policy.
We're counting. Effectively, there's zero net job creation in the private sector. It's something we're watching carefully and are concerned about. But ultimately, though, you can argue that it's a consequence of deliberate policy, which is really the changes to immigration. But the implications of events in the Middle East for the U.S. economy are uncertain. In the near term, higher energy prices will push up overall inflation, but it is too soon to know the scope and duration of the potential effects on the economy. We will continue to monitor the risks to both sides of our mandate. We are well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks.
The uncertainty Powell referenced is tied directly to the Operation Epic Fury offensive, with the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed and oil prices surging past $100 a barrel. The Fed chairman admitted that higher energy costs will inevitably push up overall inflation. Powell was unusually blunt about the Fed's limited visibility, even joking that they might have preferred to skip their summary of economic projections entirely. He noted that a combination of current trade tariffs and the new energy shock has created a one-time effect on prices that has yet to fully filter through the system.
Seeing gas prices are up almost $1 a gallon. We hope that isn't for a long period of time, and of course people will feel that, but I don't want to speculate about what that might mean, because honestly that would sound like I have some idea of what's actually going to happen, and I don't think anybody really does.
When asked about President Trump's claim that inflation will tumble down the moment the war ends, Powell declined to offer a forecast. For now, the Fed remains a wait-and-see posture, with the average American family already feeling the pinch at the pump. The central bank's message is clear. The domestic economy is now a hostage to the volatility of the Persian Gulf. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
The World Health Organization is now preparing for a potential nuclear catastrophe as U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian atomic facilities raise fears of radioactive contamination across the region and beyond. Almar Forzuelo reports.
WHO is in state of heightened readiness, monitoring the fallout of strikes on Iranian nuclear infrastructure and bracing for scenarios ranging from a hit on a reactor to the use of nuclear weapon. WHO Regional Director for the Eastern Mediterranean, Hanan Balki, told Politico that the worst-case scenario is a nuclear incident, warning that no level of preparation could fully prevent the harm it would bring to the region and the world, with consequences lasting decades. Strikes have already hit Iranian nuclear facilities at Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. No radioactive contamination has been detected anywhere in the region so far, but WHO officials warn that exposure to dangerous radiation levels would cause immediate damage to lungs and skin, sharply raise long-term cancer rates, and trigger severe psychological effects, consequences that could linger for decades. The organization pointed to the 1986 Chernobyl disaster as reference point, an accident that officially killed around 30 people in its immediate aftermath, but later drove a surge in thyroid cancers, numbering the thousands, with health impacts persisting across generations. WHO told Politico it is updating emergency protocols, conducting additional staff training, and developing public health guidance for governments on radiation risk assessment and civilian protective measures. Reporter for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
It was never really in doubt, but North Korea has made it official. Leader Kim Jong-un has secured another landslide victory, with his Workers' Party and its allies claiming nearly all votes cast and winning every seat in parliament. Kai Villan for the details.
Held on March 15 to vote elected members of the 15th Supreme People's Assembly or SPA, North Korea's parliament. State media KCNA put the ruling coalition's share at 99.97% and reported a voter turnout of 99.99%, calling the result a display of national unity and loyalty. The election came after a 7-year gap. North Korea typically holds parliamentary elections every 5 years, but the last vote was in 2019. It followed last month's ruling party Congress. Kim himself cast his ballot at the Chansung Youth Coal Mine in the Suncheon area, voting for the mine's manager, Jo Chol-ho, who was running for a parliamentary seat. Footage released by state media shows Kim at the polling station, taking part in the vote alongside workers at the complex. What the result does not reflect, independent observers say, is genuine political competition. No opposition candidates appeared on the ballot, and there is no independent monitoring of the count. The elections maintain the long-standing political structure in North Korea, where the Workers' Party of Korea has exercised and challenged authority for decades, reinforcing Kim Jong-un's position as the country's supreme leader. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNA News.
When we return, 12 Filipino seafarers are safe after an attack in the Persian Gulf. Their oil tanker was hit off Iraq. No injuries reported, but the incident underscores rising risks for OFWs in conflict zones. The fight over Vice President Sara Duterte intensifies in the House. Her lawyers dismiss the impeachment complaints are pure speculation. The defense insists there is no hard evidence to justify removal. More news after the break.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman diyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Twelve Filipino crew members of an oil tanker attacked off the coast of Iraq are safe. However, their rescue comes as maritime tensions in the Middle East continue to worsen. Hannah Jane Sancho reports.
All Filipino crew members of the oil tanker Safe Sea Vishnu have been rescued after the vessel was attacked off the coast of Iraq on March 11th. Reports indicate the ship registered in the Marshall Islands was targeted by Iranian boats carrying explosives in Iraqi waters. The Philippine Embassy in Iraq confirmed that all 12 seafarers are safe and are currently in Basra Governorate in the southern part of the country. Iraqi authorities rescued the Filipinos in the early hours of March 12. They were immediately given medical attention. The embassy continues to coordinate with authorities and the shipping company to arrange the seafarers' immediate return to the Philippines. But even as Filipinos were brought to safety, the situation in the region is only getting worse. Reuters reports that another fuel tanker in Iraqi waters was attacked by 2 Iranian vessels on March 13th, killing one of its 28 crew members. DMW Secretary Hans Kaktak says 2 other ships in the Strait of Hormuz carrying 38 Filipino seafarers were also previously attacked, all of whom survived. In an earlier incident, a tugboat carrying Filipinos was also struck and 1 Filipino crew member remains missing to this day. As tension in the Middle East deepened, Filipino seafarers working in the region face growing danger on the water. The Department of Foreign Affairs and migrant workers say they are continuously monitoring the situation and are working to ensure the safety of all Filipinos living and working in the affected areas. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines. This has been Hannah James Sancho, SMNI News.
The Office of the Ombudsman is making clear that the former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, now a state witness in the Sandigan Bayan flood control case, is not shielded from other charges. The Ombudsman says no blanket immunity exists. Kai Villan reports.
The Office of the Ombudsman is welcoming the admission made by former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo before the Sandigan Bayan. Bernardo is a state witness in the malversation case against former Congressman Zaldico and former DPWH Mimaropa officials. In his testimony, Bernardo admitted receiving 130 million pesos in kickbacks from CO between 2023 and 2025, 100 million from former District Engineer Henry Alcantara, and 30 million from former Regional Director Gerald Pacanan. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano says the revelation now makes it possible to trace the money trail behind the anomaly.
Alam naman ho natin na hindi lahat ay dumadaan sa bangko. A lot of the transactions between and amongst the perpetrators in this case are really cash-based. So to hear that from a person who was center in the method or scheme is very important for us to follow the money and follow the trail of money. Kaya we hope that when he takes on the stand in the Sandigan Bayan, that he's able to relay all the information that he has given to us to the court as well. Ito po yung hinahandaan namin dito sa Office of the Ombudsman para pagdating po niya sa Sandigan Bayan, maisabi rin niya lahat ng nalalaman niya.
However, Clavano clarified that Bernardo's state witness status is on a case-to-case basis only and does not protect him from charges in other anomalies. Under their memorandum of agreement, no blanket immunity is granted. Clavano said Bernardo can still be charged if he is found lying or involved in other illegal activities.
Ang ibig po sabihin yan ay kung meron siyang alam tungkol sa isang kaso and one transaction na willing siya magbigay ng information all the way up to the most guilty, he will be immune as to that case only. No? It would be unfair then na bibigyan namin siya ng blanket immunity kasi if there will come a time na meron kaming malaman na hindi niya sinasabi pero sangkot siya at naging most guilty siya, then he will also have to be charged for that case.
Meanwhile, the Ombudsman is standing firm that each of the 18 former soldiers must submit individual affidavits regarding the maleta delivery scheme they exposed. Defense Counsel Attorney Levito Baligot had earlier said the cash delivered to politicians came not just from flood control funds, but also from other projects such as irrigation. Clavano says the office needs to speak with each of the 18 individually, given the gravity of their accusations.
It's an opportunity on their end to clarify certain matters. Diba? There's too much noise around this joint affidavit. If we were to look at the separate affidavits, we might find that the corroboration between the 18 Marines is more credible than just one affidavit submitted by all 18 at the same time. We want to make sure that we speak to each Marine so that we understand each perspective. Kasi marami silang na-narrate doon na mga facts, no, or allegations. And from the get-go pa lang, mahirap paniwalain na lahat sila nandun for each allegation or for each narration of fact.
The Ombudsman also confirmed it has deputized the NBI to verify the identities of the 18 former soldiers.
So we have to really do our due diligence and make sure that we see the affidavit from all angles. So I think I have to emphasize na kahit bine-verify po natin ang identities ng mga 18 Marines, that we are actually already undergoing investigation dun sa actual substance ng affidavit. No? Kasi baka sinasabi ng iba na kailangan muna natin gawin yung phase 1 para dumating sa phase 2. Hindi po totoo yun. We are already doing our investigations as to the substance while verifying the identities of these 18 Marines.
Reporting for Newsline World, Kay Villan, SMNI News.
The camp of Vice President Sara Duterte is standing its ground, arguing that the impeachment complaints filed against her are built on nothing more than conclusions, speculations, and narrative. Defense team spokesperson Attorney Michael Poa says the impeachment complaints are fundamentally defective. This is a position the camp is maintaining even after the House Committee on Justice declared the complaints sufficient in form and substance. According to Poa, the complaints lack of ultimate facts required by the Constitution and existing rules. When asked whether BP Sara would appear before the minute trial set to begin on March 25th, Poa said he has yet to discuss the matter with the Vice President. He added that personal appearance is not mandatory under the applicable rules and that any decision would be based on her rights and the advice of her legal counsel. Up next, the Philippine women's team scores a breakthrough win in FIBA World Cup qualifiers. The victory keeps their World Cup bid alive as they take on the world's best. Don't go away. Newsline World will be back.
Sa panahon ng ingay, sa panahon ng maraming tanong, panahon na para marinig ang katotohanan.
Sa totoo lang, ano ba talaga ang nangyayari sa ating bansa?
At sa totoo lang, handa ba tayong harapin ang katotohanan?
Sa totoo lang,
dito walang iwasan,
walang paligoy-ligoy,
diretsong usapan.
Sa totoo lang.
Sa SMNI.
In sports, Philippines women's national basketball team is looking ahead to its next challenge after a breakthrough victory in the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup 2026 qualifying tournament. Meanwhile, the Houston Rockets host the Los Angeles Lakers in crucial rematch that could impact Western Conference playoff seeding. Here's Carlo De La Peña for the latest sports update.
Despite falling short of advancing, the Filipinas ended their campaign on a high note with a convincing 74-59 victory over Colombia women's national basketball team in Lyon. Casey De La Rosa delivered a dominant performance with 25 points, 19 rebounds, and 5 blocks, including 14 points in the first quarter to seal the win. Sumaya Sugapong added 21 points as the main team pulled away late to secure the result. Head coach Patrick Aquino said the team gained valuable lessons from the tournament and will now shift focus on preparations for the upcoming Asian Games in September. With two teams battling for positioning, the Lakers currently hold the edge in the standings and even the season series after a 192 win in their last meeting. A victory in this matchup will secure the tiebreaker between the two sides. Kevin Durant struggled against the Lakers' defensive pressure, finishing with 18 points and committing multiple turnovers, as Los Angeles forced 22 overall in the previous game. Houston also needs to improve its outside shooting after converting just 19% from three-point range, while the Lakers shot 24% but still managed to control the game. Luka Doncic and Marcus Smart provided key contributions for Los Angeles, and both teams are expected to adjust offensively heading into this pivotal contest. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
A planned reunion of the Spice Girls may be at risk as concerns grow that an alleged feud involving Victoria Beckham could overshadow the group's 30th anniversary celebration. Meanwhile, actress Lisa Kudrow has revealed she may be done with Botox after experiencing an uncomfortable side effect. Andrea Santos for the latest show buzz.
Members of the iconic group Melanie C, Emma Bunton, Mel B, and Jerry Halliwell Horner were reportedly eager to mark their 30th anniversary with a reunion. However, concerns over a possible feud involving Victoria Beckham raised fears that tensions could overshadow the milestone celebration. Sources say the uncertainty surrounding Beckham's involvement and internal dynamics within the group made it difficult to move forward with reunion plans, including a potential tour. The Spice Girls, known for hits like Wannabe, became a global pop phenomenon in the 1990s and remain one of the most influential girl groups in music history. While fans continue to hope for a reunion, lingering tensions may delay any official plans to bring the group back together. The 62-year-old star Lisa Kudrow, best known for her role in Friends, shared that her eyes became inflamed following the cosmetic procedure. In an interview, Kudrow said that the anti-wrinkle injections may have contributed to eye irritation and what she described as a weird pattern on her forehead. The actress added that the experience has made her reconsider future use of Botox, saying she is probably done with it now. Kudrow's comments highlight potential side effects of cosmetic treatments and the importance of carefully considering such procedures. And that's all for now. I'm Andrea Santos, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. Guard your mind, soul, and heart that they will remain upright in the sight of God. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Paul Montibon. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.